Hello my friends and welcome back to Fixer Upper, the video where I try to fix up houses that you have built in The Sims 4. Today we're gonna try to renovate this. And I know what you're thinking, oh my god, Kayla, this is a disaster. But hear me out, there are some good bones here. This is the half-built mansion by Poppy Elizabeth on the Sims 4 gallery. It costs 77,000 simoleons now, but believe it or not, I think it costs less when I finish renovating it. It says, in the 70s, this was supposed to be the new mansion of up-and-coming celebrity Susan Peters until one day she mysteriously died. The building has been abandoned for many years until the Walters, two newlyweds, bought the plot hoping to restore it and raise a family. However, the house may be more creepy than they first thought. So the idea is this house was half finished and then abandoned for like 40 years. So there's a lot of detail here, like the roof being partially finished. You can see a lot of the walls are unfinished, it's just wood framing. You can see that a lot more in the back, like this whole area is completely undone, it's just framing. It's a bit messy here. There's some empty spots in the walls. Inside the house, pretty much same vibes, like unfinished flooring, lots of mess in here. I just cannot imagine how much time was spent coming in and putting all of these details. I'm so excited about this build. There's an upstairs, this one is even more unfinished. There's just a whole empty bit of the floor, like that just goes straight down into the first floor. And then there's like a hole by the front door. I saw it and I was like, oh, what's that? Page down, oh. What's that? There's a coffin and some tombstone. Something about this is not right. It's all a mess. Everything here is a mess. Something about this is a bit spooky. But I want to emphasize again, like how cool the amount of detail in this build is. Like the windows being off the wall, the boards on the windows. I cannot imagine how much time this must have taken to do. So with that being said, let me just pop into my speed build and destroy all of it. So like I said, the first thing I do in these fixer-upper type builds is go in and clean them up. There's just mess everywhere. And so the first step is obviously to like clean it all out, make it so we can actually see the bones of the building and then finish it. And with a lot of houses that I do, I mostly like renovate and maybe add an extension, like sort of do more detailed structural renovations. But with this house, because it was sort of like this unfinished building, I wanted to keep the shell the same. Like I wanted to just like finish the build. So I tried to keep the walls where they were. I tried to keep some of the original floor plan where it was. I wanted to sort of mimic what it was, but maybe just update it a little bit, and also again finish it because it currently had no walls. So that was a slight problem. There wasn't even a floor in some parts, but that was the main goal, was just to like make it seem like what it was always meant to be, but just never got to be because that woman had to go and die before she built her house. Now, by the way, if you like the idea of this sort of video, I make a lot of videos like this. I'll link the playlist down below. And if you want to build a house for Fixer Upper, I check the hashtag #FixMeLilsimsie all the time. And basically you just build a house like this, a really messy nightmare house that you want me to renovate, and then I will renovate it. I'm not really looking for like pretty houses, if you know what I mean. Like usually the houses for Fixer Upper are stuff like this where they're sort of run down and a mess. So it's a different kind of build than a lot of things that I usually do. Like I don't usually build houses like this, but it's kind of fun to build a house that needs renovating. And honestly, it could be fun for you to build a house that needs renovating and then renovate it yourself. I love to play pretend. I'll sit here and act like I'm HGTV all day, every day. I think it's great fun. This is like one of my favorite things to do in The Sims, is renovate buildings. And you sort of like imagine, how did the house look originally? How are we gonna fix it? How are we gonna update it and make it more modern? You know, I just love that kind of thing. And you know what? That's the problem. If we're saying this house was gonna be built originally in the 70s, let's be real. Trying to finish it at this point, like their original plans probably weren't so good. Like a house built in the 70s would probably need some renovation these days anyway. And we renovated it, what, to look like how it was supposed to look then? No, I think I updated it a lot on the inside. I definitely did change some things around, but I wanted to keep some of the original walls because I wanted to have some of those vibes. I'm scared the lady's gonna haunt us, you know? I mean, she was buried under the front steps. So, and I did delete her grave. So we gotta be careful with this, you know? We don't want her to come back and get us. You will see that gravestone on the front like walkway, the sidewalk there. That's because you can't delete it. This happens a lot in fixer-uppers where people will like build houses using debug. And so they'll scroll around in debug all over the place. They'll get big collections of all this wonderful trash all over the house. And the problem is that you can't delete trash and you can't delete graves. So most trash you can delete, but there's a couple trash items that you can't. And obviously you can't delete gravestones. So you could get a grave out of debug, but then you cannot get rid of said grave. So there was a grave in the basement, and that grave is still here. The workaround, actually, if you want to get rid of those things but you can't delete them, if you move your lot, so say I pick up the house and I scoot it all forward, if I put like the grave right at the end of the lot and I scoot the lot forward, it'll disappear. Because it's not a real grave, it's like a fake grave tied to like no sim, because it doesn't actually exist, it's from debug. So you can like just move it off the lot using the lot edit tool and then it disappears. So there's a pro tip. Anyway, this house, I tried to keep a lot of that original color scheme too. Granted, there wasn't really a color scheme to begin with there, but you can see it had like that black wallpaper and it had the brown wooden slats and they had like some gray stone type stuff going on. So I tried to keep that like black, brown, and gray kind of vibe, but I did go for some brighter wood on the inside. I used this like yellow wooden flooring. It's actually from Island Living, which I've been using it a lot recently. I kind of like it. To be honest, this style of house is like super out of my comfort zone, as I'm sure you've probably noticed. I mostly build like very suburban looking family type homes in The Sims, and they aren't even really things that I see that often in real life. Like a lot of the houses that I build in The Sims do not exist around where I live, but they're definitely more like, I want to say realistic houses, because you don't see homes like this one in real life very often, and certainly not around here. Like when I picture houses like this, I picture like the Hollywood Hills, you know, like really expensive mansions, brand new ones being built. Like I don't often encounter this kind of thing at all around where I live. So it's kind of out of my comfort zone for that reason, but I also just think they're kind of ugly. Not that this house is ugly. The person who built it did an amazing job, but like I would never want to live in a house like this. I'm not a huge fan of like super modern looking design. So I kind of just tend to not build them in The Sims because I know that I don't like it. So I mostly build houses that like I would want to live in, like more exteriors that suit my personal style, because if I'm gonna build it, I want to like it. But I would never live in a house like this. I can't picture myself living in like a modern home, so I don't often build them in The Sims. I do build them sometimes, but it's just not my first choice, you know? We all have our styles and things that we like. This is just not my style. I do like this house though, and I definitely like furnishing modern homes more. I think my problem also is that I can like conjure up in my head a very like traditional house. I can sort of like imagine it and conjure it up in my brain. Not necessarily very traditional, but I can conjure up a more like normal old school looking home in my head. I can't very easily like picture what a house like this would look like. I can't like envision something in my brain and then make it that easily. I feel like I just sort of wing it and put like random roofs places and hope that it looks nice, and I'm not that good at it. So I sort of avoid this style of home. But maybe with practice, maybe I get better. But I don't even want to practice because I don't like how it looks. Anyway, ignore it. Oh, you know what? Speaking of things that I don't like and that are out of place, this build in this neighborhood looks bizarre. Because this is the neighborhood in Del Sol Valley. If you don't recognize it, this house is built in Del Sol Valley, that like Get Famous world. So it's sort of Los Angeles themed, this world. But this house is built in like a really small neighborhood. All the houses nearby are like small one-story houses. They're very close together, all of them. And then you have just this monstrosity of a mansion right next door. This kind of thing happens a lot in real life. Like you look at these neighborhoods where it's, for example, I'm talking about Naples, Florida. Okay, not Naples, Italy. Naples, Florida. It's like a beach town in South Florida. And in that place, and a lot of places like it, there's a lot of houses built in like the 80s, single story little ranch homes, real cute, but they're slowly all being torn down and replaced with like McMansion types. And so you look at these streets and there's like 4 little ones left still of the original standing houses, and then like the rest of them have all been replaced with houses like this. And so it's so bizarre to have these cute little houses and then big McMansion right next door, because they keep buying up the lots and tearing them down and building newer homes, new big homes. That's what this gives off. That's these vibes. We're taking over and destroying a beautiful classic little neighborhood with things like this. Granted, if the storyline is that this house was meant to be built in the 70s, oh, think about this eyesore, this like destroyed mess that's been sitting there for so long. That's horrible. And like the rats that must have been in here. It's a good thing The Sims doesn't have any of that business. We are lucky to avoid that in The Sims 4. Anyway, let's talk about me for a second. These speed builds are basically like my little personal podcast where I just get to talk about myself. And my birthday was last weekend, so I thought I would update you all on my birthday. I don't think you care, but I'm 22 now. So on my actual birthday, I just saw my parents mostly. But the day before, I streamed, and we actually raised $100 $100,000 in one day for able gamers, which is unbelievable. Like, I never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined that happening. In just one day, $100,000 raised for able gamers. And then the next day, I just hung out with my parents. we were trying to go to a trail and like go on a hike, except then it rained, so we left. But by the time we like got back into Orlando, it was not raining anymore. So we just walked around Lake Eola, this like nice lake in downtown Orlando, and nobody was there because it was like bad weather, but the weather had stopped being bad. So it was like kind of cloudy still, so not hot, but not raining. And nobody was there. We walked around. It was lovely. I got my parents to go to 2 different vegan restaurants with me this weekend, which is always fun. My parents are like very down to try vegan food, which works out very well for me. We went to 2 different ones this weekend. I mean, I had a grand old time. So thank you all for your very kind and very lovely birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. And it was a nice weekend. And thank you for those of you who came to the stream on Friday and donated or just helped support and spread the word about able gamers. I am so grateful for you. My friend Steve had a goal to raise $1 million for able gamers for his 40th birthday, and he was getting so close. He was like $120,000 off before our stream, and then obviously we had the stream on Friday, and then people kicked it into gear all weekend, and he passed his $1 million goal, which is just it's so cool. It's really exciting. So I will link some stuff about able gamers down below if you want to read more about them, but just thank you again, all of you. That I'm so grateful. I have no words. But the house, as you can see, I've kind of furnished the kitchen and dining room first, and you'll notice that it has a somewhat open floor plan, but it's so big that I wanted to sort of separate the areas a little bit. So they have like big open archways in between them, and it kind of has this flow of like walk into living room, and then you go into music room, and then it takes you to dining room, then around to the kitchen. So it's not easy to get around because you can't like access the kitchen from more than one area. And I feel like usually people that have this much money might not intentionally go for a like galley style kitchen like that, but I just thought it looked so nice, so I wanted to do it. But look, it's not my problem. If they wanted a bigger kitchen, then they should have built one. I say, as the person who renovated the house. Do you know what though? These YouTubers, I only know, like the only houses I ever see in LA are YouTuber houses, okay? So that's my reference. But these YouTubers, they'll make a house tour of their like $5 million mansion in Los Angeles and then show off this beautiful kitchen, this like chef's kitchen. Just gourmet appliances, some like $20,000 wolf range, and they'll be sitting in front of their massive island, and then they'll be like, hee hee, I don't cook. I just order out 3 meals a day. And they're not kidding. Meanwhile, they've got a $20,000 stove. So moral of the story is, the sim who lives here, they don't need the kitchen. It's okay if it's inconveniently located because they won't use it, right? It's fine. I swear, maybe this is a sore subject, but I look at those house tours and their kitchens are the size of my entire house. Like, you see these beautiful, beautiful kitchens, and they'll be like, hey, don't use it though. It hurts. It hurts me. Can you imagine how much money it would cost to like Postmate 3 meals a day as well? Like how much you would spend? Because I don't know, we're talking about LA too. I don't know how much it costs to like Postmate breakfast, but like $15 a meal, and it's like you and your friend. Okay, that's $30. All right, $10 fee, $10 tip. Like, and that's 3 times a day? Doesn't that make you feel sick? It's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Okay, I do have a very funny story for you about a Twitch troll. Let's change the subject. So basically this morning, I was streaming Minecraft. I've started streaming early in the morning on Wednesdays. I don't know why, but I was playing Minecraft earlier today, just living my best life, hanging out. It was quite funny. As I was playing, well, it wasn't funny for the axolotl, but as I was playing, I was in the caves, just vibing, see an axolotl, try and get my bucket to capture the axolotl. It swims straight into the lava. Axolotl's dead. Here, I'll play the clip for you. This is important context. What? Hi! No! Sorry. No, stay away! No! Okay, well, like an hour after that happened, somebody comes into my chat and starts talking about how they wish that I would die. And they were telling me in a very hateful way that they hope that I die. And basically being like, I hope you die like that axolotl did. But like making references like that. But it was not very nice, their messages. They were wishing death upon me. So My mods look, it's some brand new account made like 2 minutes ago, and their whole username is just letter spam, like keyboard spam, obviously a troll. And so I realized this person, they made a very specific reference to a thing that happened like an hour ago. They've been watching the stream, okay? They obviously are a person who's actually watching, but made this account just to troll. And so I kindly reminded them, hey bestie, I don't know how to tell you this, but when you get banned on Twitch, you actually get shadow banned, like IP banned now. And so, for example, you made a second account to be mean to me and tell me to die, which was very kind of you, but you got banned there. And so now your other accounts on the same IP are also banned, but they're shadow banned. So I will never see your messages again. On your main account, it won't appear to you as though you're banned, but your chat messages will never appear in my Twitch chat again to anyone else. So you'll just keep typing away like normal, but nobody's gonna see it. Well, I told them that. And then a couple minutes later, they message one of my mods and they're like, what is wrong with you? Why did you have to shadow ban me? Just ban me for real. Well, they messaged us on their real account. So like, I didn't know who made this fake account to tell me to die. And then they come out and they just tell us their real account name by messaging us to tell us, buddy, you're not very smart. You could have gotten away with it, but no, you tell us your real account. It's not my choice to shadow ban you. That's just how Twitch works with the IP bans. I don't know what to say. But anyway, I thought it was very funny how they just came right out and told us their name. Like, very impressive work on your behalf. Thank you so much. And then after like I found out their real account, we go back and look at their chat history and stuff, and their last message before they got banned on their main account was them saying, it's a shame people think they can harass you just because you're a woman. But they had sent that after they made the account telling me to die. So they made the account being like, I hope you die, and then come back on their main account and they're like, it's a shame people harass you because you're a woman. Yeah, it's a real shame, isn't it, that people like you harass me on Twitch. Oh my god. It's funny when like people do dumb things, because we see these kind of things all the time, these dumb trolls, on a daily basis. Usually they're not this funny. Like, they're always dumb, but they aren't always this dumb. So it's great fun when they do things this bad. Like, you are really bad at being a troll if that's how you pulled it off, you know? Like, anyway, shouldn't give them attention. I swear, it just makes me laugh. And if you can't laugh about these things, then like, they're just gonna hurt your feelings too much. So you gotta find the joy in it, you know? And to be fair, like, they didn't say anything that bad. I've seen a lot worse. So it's fine. It makes for a good story. If you want to follow me on Twitch, by the way, please don't tell me to die in my Twitch chat. I'm begging you. Please don't do that. But if you want to follow me on Twitch, my name's just lilsimsie on Twitch. I stream every day, so I'll have that linked down below. I'm usually live at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's 9 p.m. in the UK, if that helps you convert time zones at all. But I'm live every day. And we play a lot of The Sims. Like, for example, I built this on Twitch, this build. It's kind of fun to do like fixer-upper type builds on Twitch live, because then people can all kind of suggest things and we can make up stories for the Sims that lived here. And how did that woman who was gonna live here die? I don't know. Let's talk about it. It's just kind of fun. Why is she in the basement now? I don't know. Why is her grave now on the front sidewalk? These are all important questions that need answers. And we have a good time on Twitch talking about it. So I think you'd like my streams. I'll have them linked down below. And if you ever miss them, I also re-upload my streams every day onto my second channel on YouTube. It's called More Simsie. So all of my live streams are uploaded there. I know it can be easier to watch back streams on YouTube sometimes. Like, you can always see them back on Twitch, but it's kind of harder to get to them. And like, if you're anything like me, I just want to throw up a YouTube video sometimes. And I watch VODs a lot. Like, if I don't catch streams live, I like to just have something on in the background, just playing when I'm like working on things, because it makes me feel less alone. Because I lived alone up until about 2 weeks ago. So it's just nice to have some sound in the background. You know, you're like folding laundry and there's just somebody talking in the background. It's nice noise. It's good to not feel so lonely. It's fun to have a stream because they're sort of more chatty than like a regular YouTube video sometimes. So anyway, I don't need to keep plugging it. I'm sorry. I am sure a lot of you do the same thing. We're kind of getting close to the end of the video here. So remember what this place used to look like. Obviously it's very different now, but remind yourself, rack your brain for the original build, and I'm gonna take you on a quick tour here of what it looks like now. It's a big difference. So here was that original house build. It was a mess. It's almost unrecognizable. You can see the bones there, and like I kept the windows and stuff, but now it looks a little bit different. This is our finished product. It costs 134,000 simoleons. I did build this in July and I'm not posting it until now. Disregard that, the date right there. Pretend that you didn't see it. I also used the same packs that the original person built, and she was actually in our Twitch chat. So there was a couple, she was like, hey, I didn't use the ghost pack, but if you want to, I own it. So I was like, okay, I'll put paranormal in there. But this is the final build. Like I said, it's quite a big difference, and all I did was clean it up. I didn't make this house look pretty. Poppy made the house look pretty when she built it. I just added to it. I tried to have like some deserty like landscaping in the front. It felt appropriate for California. Don't want to have to use a lot of water to take care of these things. Honestly, this yard, it's turf. Don't worry. Backyard is all paved. There's a nice big pool and some big open areas. I love this patio with the table. I think that looks so nice. I want to sit out there so bad by the pool. And then when you first walk inside, you come into a nice entryway in here. There's a fish tank. To the right, there's a big living room and bar space. I feel like this couch is just absolutely massive, but I don't know. They entertain. They have people over all the time. It's fine. They also have a small gym off that living room, which is kind of nice. And then through this way, you come into the music room where there's a piano and a bookshelf. And then the dining room. I am a really big fan of this kitchen dining combo. I love the like giant sliding glass doors onto the patio where there's like more dining space. I love the combo of like the color scheme in the kitchen and dining spaces. I just like how galley kitchens look too. Like I just think this is so nice. They also have 2 sinks because they're kind of far away from each other, let's be honest. You need one to fill your pots and then one to wash dishes. So we've got 2 sinks. I should have put double ovens. You know they'd have 2 ovens in here, but we just have one. They also have a small breakfast nook. I think it's cute. And then downstairs, this is what I'm calling the guest bedroom. There's basically 2 like main bedrooms in this house, 2 primary suites, but maybe one's grandma's. But they've got this bedroom downstairs with an ensuite bathroom. There's a utility room downstairs too that is basically a bathroom, but is a very big one, and it has like a closet space and a washer dryer. I wanted there to be a bathroom downstairs that's like usable for everybody, but I also wanted to have a nice big like utility laundry space. So we combined it. It's practical. It's not that pretty, but it's practical. And then if you go upstairs, there's a nice hallway. I love the overhang. I love this hallway layout so much. They have a desk in the hallway because it wouldn't be a lilsimsie build without one. To the left, we have that like primary suite I was talking about. They have a really nice ensuite bathroom with a big tub and everything. And then on the other side, there's 2 smaller like kids bedrooms. There's like a pink and green one, which I love this color scheme. I love this wallpaper. That Dream Home Decorator one is so nice with the triangles. I used it twice in this build, once in that bedroom and once in the gym, but it just looks nice. They have a bathroom they share in between them. And then there's this bedroom, which is also very different from my usual stuff, but this one's like all black inside. And I use that like black and white mountain wallpaper and stuff. I just thought this was cool. I kind of like it in here. Truthfully, it's kind of a small bedroom. Like it's almost the same size as the bathroom. It is the same size as the utility room downstairs as well, which is pretty bad, but all this house and your bedroom is that small. That sucks. But in total, it's a 4-bedroom house. Could be 5 if you want this gym to be a bedroom for somebody. Honestly, this utility room could be a bedroom too if you wanted it to. So maybe make it 6 bedrooms. And then it's got 4 bathrooms. I did get rid of the basement, the scary haunted one with the coffins. I felt like it wasn't appropriate to keep. There were dead people in there. I don't know. Bad vibes. Bad vibes. Tear it out. Fill it up. But that's the whole house. I love doing fixer-uppers like this. So like I said, if you want to build one, hashtag #FixMeLilSimsie on the gallery. And I've got the playlist linked for you at the end of this video if you want to see it too. And on that note, I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Actually, bye though, because I have to go fold my laundry now. Thanks for watching. Okay, see you later.